Hello, my name is Staj. Welcome to my channel where we talk about all things boutique, building a boutique, and entrepreneurship. Today we are going to be talking about seller's permit versus a resale certificate. If you're in the process of building your boutique or online business and not sure what they are, which one do you need? Do you need one or the other? Do you need both? I'm here to tell you what I've done and my personal experience to give you some guidance to help you start your online business. Just a disclaimer, I am not a tax professional, I am not a lawyer, this is not legal advice, this is me simply telling you my experience from me building my own online boutique. I've had an online boutique since 2021, so I'm going to tell you some of the things that I have learned in my experience in building a boutique. So let's start with a seller's permit. And if you see me looking down, it's just me simply looking at my notes. But a seller's permit can sometimes be referred to as a sales and use license or a business license, and ultimately allows you to collect sales tax for any tangible goods or products or services that you are selling in the state that you reside in specifically. If you are making sales outside of your state that you reside in, you will need to collect sales tax based on a specific threshold depending on your state's laws. So for example, for the state that I reside in, if I'm making over $100,000 in sales, I am then required to collect sales tax from those outside of my state. Now, you want to make sure that you are getting your seller's permit, whether you're building an online business or simply a brick and mortar business. You will need a seller's permit, a business license, and you're going to need one to collect sales tax from your customers. Now, I do want to emphasize that it is important that you file your LLC and get an EIN before you apply for a seller's license or business license. And this is something that you can do with any of the online services such as Busy, such as LegalZoom. They can essentially file that LLC for you and help you get an EIN if you aren't aware or not sure how to go about getting one. But I recommend that you have filed your LLC and have gotten and received your EIN prior to getting your business license. When it comes to actually applying for a seller's permit, you want to make sure that you're going through your state's Department of Revenue site where it'll explain how to go about it. And oftentimes you can just call or chat with someone from customer service if you're unsure of where to go or how to find it. But definitely recommend that you go directly through your state's Department of Revenue site to actually file for a seller's permit. There is typically a one-time fee associated with getting your seller's permit. So for me, in my case, I had to pay a one-time fee of $100. This is something that you want to factor in when you're budgeting and just getting started with your business. This is one of those fees where you want to budget into extra costs that you'll have to invest in as well. But you also want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on the seller's permit, having it handy, having it stored somewhere safe, but also recommend that you take a picture and keep a picture of it on your phone in the event that you were to forget your seller's permit at home or didn't have with you on hand. You would have a picture of it on your phone. So depending on your state, you do want to make sure that you are keeping the most up-to-date version of the seller's permit on hand. In my state, the seller's permit does renew every 2 years, so they'll just send a new seller's permit. You aren't required to keep paying a fee for this renewal, but it is important that you keep the most up-to-date version of the seller's permit on hand. Okay, let's get into a resale certificate. So, a resale certificate is not the same thing as a seller's permit or a business license. A resale certificate is something that you complete as you are purchasing inventory from a wholesaler or distributor. So let's say you're starting your online boutique, you're about to start selling shoes, and you want to buy a bulk of shoes to sell on your boutique. In order to purchase that bulk of shoes, you have to show your wholesaler or distributor, one, your seller's permit, and a completed resale certificate. This is something that you'll need to complete at the time of each purchase, depending on the vendor that you go to. So if you're going to a new vendor each time, you're gonna have to complete a new resale certificate. And it's simply just a printout that you can get online from your state's website, but it's just a resale certificate that gives you proof that you are able to resell the items that you're purchasing from this vendor. So the reason for having a resale certificate is to prevent double taxation. So let's stick with this example of purchasing shoes. So let's say you're buying this bulk of shoes from your vendor. You're not necessarily paying taxes when you purchase this inventory from your vendor, but you are charging taxes to your end customer, which you are then reporting on every month, every quarter, every year, depending on the requirements of your state. So do keep that in mind. This prevents double taxation. For this reason, sales taxes are required to be paid on the final product. So when you're buying these shoes from the vendor and then you're reselling it to an end customer, that is the actual final product when you sell it to the end customer, not when you purchase it from the vendor. I also want to add that this resale certificate is not filed with the state. This is something that you complete when you are purchasing from your vendor or wholesaler. I do also want to add, specifically for boutiques, if you're purchasing from wholesale sites like Fashion Go, Orange Shine, Fair, you're purchasing all of your inventory from wholesale sites like those, you won't necessarily need to complete a resale certificate at every purchase, but you will need your seller's permit and a resale certificate to get started on those sites. So it's essentially a marketplace for a bunch of vendors, but it's not necessary that you'll need to complete a resale certificate from every different vendor that you purchase from on that site. But I do want to stress that you will definitely need a seller's permit in order to get started on those sites. So we've talked about a seller's permit, we've talked about a resale certificate. Which one do you need? If you are a boutique that is getting started with reselling inventory that you purchase from a vendor, from a wholesale vendor or distributor in bulk, you will need both. So you will need both a seller's permit and you will need a resale certificate. If you're just selling, items that you're making at home or, craft items that you're making, and you're not really reselling items that you purchased from another vendor, all you really need is a seller's permit for that, and that allows you to really collect tax from your end customers. Like I mentioned, for the seller's permit, you're gonna get that from your state's revenue department, and for a resale certificate, it's something that you'll complete at the time of purchasing your inventory. So I hope I answered all of your question in regards to a seller's permit and a resale certificate. If you have any other questions or feedback or comments, please leave them in the comments below. Please like and subscribe if you like this type of video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.